How is your day going aside from, talking to meaty people and talking about yourself?
Well, today's been a travel day primarily. So I got up really early this morning, caught a flight out to Seattle. We're getting ready to start the Experience Hendrix tour tomorrow. And so we're doing press around my new record and the Experience Hendrix tour.
The Experience Hendrix tour, to me, I'm putting words in your mouth here, is the smartest legacy management of any classic rock artist ever. Am I wrong?
Well, I would say it's a pretty great idea for sure. I mean, look, it's really remarkable the amount of material that they've been able to come up with or that they have unearthed over the course of
Yeah,
the
50
time
years.
since yes, the time since
Yeah.
Hendrix passed away. And people who love him and his music and what he brought to the table, I mean, we all love to hear that kind of stuff. I mean, every time they come up with something that maybe nobody you haven't heard before, I mean, it's fascinating to hear that stuff. Whether it's outtakes or whether it's like him playing on somebody else's music or whatever. There was like one of the records they put out in 2018, I think had some stuff with him and Steven Stills in the
Hmm.
studio together, which is like amazing, right? So but yeah, doing the tour, I mean, it's pretty incredible and it's really evolved. I mean, it started in Seattle at a club here where us and a few more other bands got together with Janie Hendrix and Al Hendrix, Jimmy's father, when he was still alive, and we were celebrating the legacy of Jimi Hendrix, but then it evolved into this thing that then snowballed into a big tour with all these incredible artists. And so, you get all these amazing guitar players that are all paying tribute to the greatest of all time. And the catalog of music is insane. It's a great platform for any guitar player to shine. And it's pretty good idea.
Absolutely. We're going to come back to that at the end. Let's talk about the new record, Volume 2. Muscle Shoals helped make this one a reality. When did you actually finish Volume 2?
Well, we finished volume 2. I don't know the exact date, but it was probably completely all wrapped up towards the end, around the time we released volume 1, so last November. Because we still had some mastering and stuff to do and the album artwork and all that. But yeah, Muscle Shoals, we went down there, we wrote the songs, for both these records while we were in Fame Studios down in Muscle Shoals. And we went down there for the vibe, and just knowing that like when you're creating something, everything in your environment has some sort of an effect on it, and so without trying to be deliberate in the music that we wrote, we knew that the vibe would find its way into what we were doing, and I think the end result is a great record.
A good ZZ Top cover on there. Some artists, when they're putting a cover on the record, they like to give a heads up to go, hey, some mailbox money's coming your way from the publishing. And other
Mhm.
people do it as a surprise. Do you reach out to Billy Gibbons, go, hey, man, did you a favor?
No, I don't usually do that. You know, uh, Look, at the end of the day, anybody, once a song is published, anybody can record it.
Sure.
And, I did it because I love Billy. I love ZZ Top. I love his passion of, blues and blues-based music and his passion for automobiles. I'm totally a car nut myself. And so
Hmm.
he's always done such a classy job of bringing those two worlds together. And so this song is just an example of that. There's so many ZZ Top songs that I love like that. Like I'm Bad, I'm Nationwide, She Loves My Automobile, Manic Mechanic. I mean, you look at the whole Eliminator album with that car on the cover. I mean, he's always done a great job of bringing those two worlds together in a very cool way.
Something I didn't know until I did an interview with the singer of OMD was that ZZ Top borrowed the keyboards and the loops after seeing OMD on television and being on a show with them in England. Was there almost a Kenny Wayne Shepherd crossover synth attempt album?
Not yet, but we did. There is a record that's not finished yet, but we went into the studio to do a rock and roll cover album that's going to come out probably in a couple of years from now, to be honest with you, because I got a
Wow.
lot. I've been working on about 4 different albums simultaneously. And volume 2 of Dirt on My Diamonds is one of them. So once it comes out, then there'll be 3 more that I'm still working on. But in this cover album, we were doing some outside the box songs. Like the whole idea is for when you see the song list, for at least a few times for you kind of scratch your head and go, what they're playing what? And then you hear it and it's like, wow, that's actually really cool. And so, yes, we had to bust out some interesting synthesizers. We were at Sweetwater Recording Studios up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And they just happen to have this little museum that has all these original keyboards and synthesizers from the 80s that have all those sounds on them. So we were going and grabbing the stuff
Yeah.
from the display in their museum and using it in the studio to get all those authentic sounds.
Obviously, everyone thinks of you and the guitar and the same thought, but do any of your songs ever start on piano or keyboard?
Well, not for me. No, generally they all start with guitar. Sometimes they'll start with just like a lyric idea or maybe a vocal melody or something like that. But 98.9% of the time it's always with a guitar lick or a guitar groove.
Hmm. Having 4 albums, in the works at the same time, a person can read that as music is your hobby when you're not working.
Well, I have a couple of things that keep me busy outside of music. One of which is my family,
Sure.
with my wife and our 6 beautiful kids. So when I'm home, I generally, a lot of the time that when I'm home, I'm 100% focused on my family. And then when I'm on the road, I'm very focused on the music. But I also have, my passion for automobiles and cars, and I'm pretty involved in the car community and stuff like that. So I definitely have a lot of really cool things to kind of keep me busy, but music, none of this stuff would be what it is without the music for sure.
The music car crossover is much wider than people realize. Like Mike Reno from Loverboy, I think he has his 604 club. It's Porsches, I think. Do you have a specific specialty when it comes to auto collecting?
Well, historically, I've been into the world of Mopar, which is like Dodge, Chrysler, Plymouth, and the classics and the modern stuff too. So
Mhm.
that's kind of my comfort zone. But basically, if it looks good and goes fast, I generally am a fan of it.
Is there an airport hangar style garage of yours?
I wish there was. No, not yet. I do have a fair amount of garage space at my house. But yes, I would love to one day, build or own one of those big buildings and just have everything all under one roof. Right now, it's kind of scattered between my house and a couple of my friends' shops in different states across the country.
To use a weird comparison, when people ask Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick about his guitars, he says that people just come up to him and go, "You know what I got?" And then they just try and sell it to him. Are you at that point with cars where people go, "See what I got"?
Yeah, well, there's people that definitely send me messages on a regular basis through social media about cars that they have or a relative has or a guy down the street has that's under a tarp or whatever. So yeah, I definitely get kind of a lot of leads when it comes to automobiles. Maybe more so the cars than the guitars.
Fascinating. Now, were you a guitar collector and you reformed yourself?
I don't consider myself to be a collector. I'm kind of, all my guitars are kind of there for a reason. I look at them as my tools. Like this is my toolbox, and these are my tools. I mean, I have a fair amount of guitars. I have, well over 100 guitars for sure. I've never really counted them all, but I've never considered myself to be a collector. And especially like I bought a couple of vintage instruments early on in my career, and one of them in particular was a mint condition 1958 Strat, looked brand new. And when I got it, the night I got it, I went out and started playing it on stage and played it through the whole tour. And for the next couple of years, I played that guitar and I literally wore the finish like off the body. Like it's totally tattered now. And so, I started looking at that. And I'm like, I'm not the guy that should own these rare mint condition guitars because I will, to the collectors, they want it. It's only original once. You want that originality, and I'll destroy that because I play really aggressive. And so I don't know. I never went down the guitar collector route. I have some really cool guitars, don't get me wrong. But I don't know that. I think that's probably why I don't get all the leads on the guitars because I never really put it out there that I was big into the guitar collecting world.
I get the impression that when you have that big of a guitar collection, that you have to have a full-time guitar tech even when you're not on tour.
Well, you definitely have to have a network, right? And but we spend enough time out on the road on tour that, you know, if I need something done, I just grab the guitars that need work and I bring them out there with me and have my guy address it. But yeah, you need a network of people, even, you know, when you're off the road. And sometimes if, you know, if you're living in two different locations, you know, splitting your time up, you need a team of guys over here and a team of guys over there. Sometimes you send guitars to people in the mail and have them send them back when they're all done. You know, I mean, it depends, but you definitely, when it's really like important, because this is like the tool of our trade, then you want to have the absolute best people on speed dial.
Speaking of best people, I was at a very awkward gig of yours. I've seen great gigs. Don't get me wrong. I saw you at Jones Beach a couple summers ago with Joe Bonamassa. But when I said awkward gig, I saw you as a member of the Jim Irsay band playing to the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City to like 50 people who were enjoying the open bar around Jim's collection. Are there more Jim Irsay band gigs coming in the future?
Well, I certainly hope so, because that was in the very early days of that whole thing. I don't know if you kept tabs on it, but the thing really evolved into this incredible experience. And it started small, and it started as like a VIP invitation only thing,
Yeah.
which when you obviously were at that show,
I
it
don't
was.
know why it was VIP and I was there, but you know, these things happen.
Well, yeah, but you got, you know, you got in on the in the very early days of it.
Yeah.
It evolved into this thing where, I mean, we've played Lucas Oil Stadium twice now to like
Really?
40 people, and we played the Boston Garden, you know, and we played like all these, we started playing all these legendary venues. And then Jim, instead of making it an invitation only event, he decided to open it up to the public, and he gives away the tickets for free. And so it's one of the most incredible things I've actually been a part of, because this guy has an incredible collection of stuff. And a lot of these guys that acquire stuff like that usually once they get it, you don't really see these things anymore. But he's, you know, elected to like share his collection with the public, and he wants people to enjoy this stuff. And so you know, he has David Gilmour's Black Strat from Pink Floyd. He has Bob
Yeah.
Dylan's Strat from the Newport Folk Festival when he first went electric, and Jerry Garcia's Tiger guitar, you know, just to name a few things. And we've incorporated those into parts of the show too. So they'll bring David Gilmour's Stratocaster from the display out and hand it to me on stage, and we play Comfortably Numb, you know, and like incredible moments. It's really turned into something very special.
Yeah, that is not the show I saw, and I'm eating my words when I say it was awkward, but it was a hell of a lineup between you and Mike Mills and Natalie Merchant and Aronoff, et cetera. So hopefully more of the world gets to see that.
Yeah.
Back to the new album, because we're still plugging this new album. Are you playing much from it on the upcoming dates? Are you allowed to play any of it on the Experience Hendrix dates?
Well, the Experience Hendrix tour is Hendrix, right? And it's about us showing our appreciation and the influence that he had on us. But we just wrapped up this year's part of the Dirt on My Diamonds tour, and then we'll start early next year, probably I think in January, and we'll hit the ground running, and we'll be playing songs from both Volume 1 and Volume 2. But the last couple of shows that we did play a couple of songs from Volume 2, even though it wasn't out yet. And so yeah, we're looking forward to it. I mean, but they're both great albums with a lot of great songs, and we love playing new material along with, you know, so many of the hit songs we've had in the catalog that now spans 3 decades, you know.
And as you said earlier, 4 albums basically being made at the same time. So it sounds like, without spoilers, we're getting new music in 2025 as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things coming. There's a completely traditional blues album that's going to come out in 2025 that I did with an artist by the name of Bobby Rush, who is a
Oh,
living legend in the blues world. And
yeah. I've interviewed him a few times. Smart man who puts on a show to the max.
yeah, so I'm really, really excited to get that out there. And then we have the 30th anniversary of my first album, Ledbetter Heights, coming up, which will be at the end of 2025. And so we have a new version of that album that we've recorded, and we're going to put that out. I'm hoping to do a tour similar to the 25th anniversary of the Trouble Is record, where we go out and play the whole album in its entirety for the first time. And then probably 2026 is when you'll hear that rock and roll cover album come out,
Oh,
hopefully. And sometime between now and then, we'll be back in the studio making another new album or two.
well, down to the last 3 quick questions before I let you go. First
Okay.
one's stupid. The second and the third are clickbait. Are you ready?
All right.
The first one. Does anyone call you Ken?
Yeah. Actually, when I go to Starbucks, I just say Ken because it's 3 letters. You can't mess that up.
But is it an inner circle and Starbucks kind of thing that you know the person knows you if they call you Ken?
No, usually everybody calls me Kenny or Kenny Wayne. If they know me, I still go by, because my dad's name is my dad's name's Kenneth, my name is Kenneth, but he's Ken, I'm Kenny. So usually if Ken is being used, it's in reference to my dad. But when I'm doing things in let's say outside of the world of entertainment, if I'm meeting somebody, let's say for example, I'm doing some work on my house and I'm like, interviewing a guy that maybe I want to hire to do something. I just introduce myself as Ken.
There's Ken. Got it. Okay. Clickbait question number one, intended to be a compliment here. You had the distinction of doing another run of Van Halen dates besides the Sharon era. And without the Shepherd family, there would be no Wolfgang Van Halen, biologically speaking. Did he ever say thank you for letting me be born to you or your father?
He did. He didn't. Well, what he said was, and this was actually the very last Van Halen show ever at Hollywood Bowl in
Yeah.
Los Angeles, California, 2015, I think. And my dad had been out for several days, and the last day, we were all saying our goodbyes and stuff. And Wolfgang came up to my dad and introduced himself and shook his hand. He goes, "Well, I guess I owe you a thank you," or it was just he was making a joke. I mean, obviously, my dad facilitated to a small degree the meeting between Valerie Bertinelli and Eddie Van
Yes.
Halen. And I'd been told that story when I was a kid, but like I didn't know, I didn't really know how much of that could be embellished, like how true was it, but after I did the Van Halen tours and found out that I was actually very true. And so Eddie and I became friends after I did the
Yes.
tour with them in the 90s with the Van Halen 3 tour with Gary Sharon. And we did that whole tour, and Eddie and I became friends. We stayed in contact over the years, and he was always so gracious and so nice to me, and a good friend. And, but like, I guess our history went back to, before that even, which is pretty incredible.
Louisiana. And the last question related to Van Halen is, were you ready if they ever said, "Hey, come on stage and play a song with us"? Would you have been ready to bust out any song from the catalog?
Well, let's put it this way. They didn't, so I didn't have to worry about it. But I would have done my best. I mean, I feel like I could, at the very least, I could have gotten up there and faked it. But look, I grew up listening to Van Halen probably just as much as anybody else. Now, I didn't learn all those songs note for note. My style and Eddie's style were pretty different from one another, but
Yeah.
I can play rock and roll, I just can't and would never attempt to be Eddie Van Halen.
Well, the key is you remain an original. We have so much to look forward to from your catalog and your live performances. So, Annie, thank you for the decades of great art and really looking forward to what's to come.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Paltrocast.